I think the major contribution there is the development of SME lending, because it's kind of the heart and soul of growth within Rwanda. And a lot of my colleagues in the industry are focusing on that sector. We ourselves last year went out and raised additional $10 million in Tier 2 capital to support SME growth. And it's an area where, although there was strong development, we saw some nice big infrastructure projects, a few large, nice syndication closing at the end of the year, which obviously boosted lending to the private sector. But having that growth within the SME sector, I think, is key, and that's what's going to drive growth over the foreseeable future.
When you say you saw growth in lending to SME sector, of course, we still understand that these create some of the most jobs in Africa, in Rwanda, to be perspective. Tell me, how much growth are we looking at?
I can only talk about our bank, and we saw growth in SME in excess of 20% last year. And if you look at the economy, the growth in the economy, a GDP growth rate of roughly 7%, we're well within 3 times leverage on that GDP growth rate. So we're growing at a good rate within the growth of the economy. A lot of people will say there's a lot of infrastructure growth, but there's a number of SMEs that are growing within the sector. It's not just trading. We're seeing manufacturing. We're seeing services grow. The Made in Rwanda is starting to work. We saw support to the exporters and exporters in non-traditional areas. So that's where we're seeing growth, and we want to place ourselves squarely within that sector. We're looking now at tourism, especially in the Kivu Belt area, and we've done a small pilot project as I&M Bank to focus on that sector.
Of course, Robin, something that I want us to touch base with is the banking as of itself. We saw a very drop in the number of banking halls in the country. Of course, a lot of big banks closing banking halls to keep just a few of them, and of course opting out for online banking. But we're still seeing some others that are opening up even more ATMs around the country, even though we've seen a drop from 400s to at least 300s there. Tell me, is I&M maybe on its own beat of the conversation, kind of a traditional bank right now, not going with the trends so much?
We see space for both. I don't think the traditional banking hall is ever going to leave the market. I don't think it will go out of the picture. It will evolve in terms of what you're doing inside the banking hall, but there's still space for it. But it has to run hand in glove together with the digital rollout, supporting the cashless society innovation that both the government and the central bank are pushing within Rwanda. But ATMs still have their place. There's a lot of requirement for cash within the country, and I see it being a complementary to the digital platform. So now you're seeing non-card cash out through ATMs, or code cash, where you get sent a code to your mobile phone and can use ATMs, so you don't have to have a card. It's to cover the people that are not in the traditional banking sector, because we're still capturing a very small portion of the overall population, but certainly complementary. And from our point of view, definitely part of our strategy to make sure that we are in key areas. And like I said, we'll see in 2019 a couple of innovations which are a little bit different. You will still have a banking hall, but whether it looks like a bank might be debatable.
We are looking at, of course, much of the activities, banking activities now happening online, and of course more with the POS machines, just like you said a second ago. But a lot of analysts and other people who use these services have flagged this particular part of banking as not as reliable, because most of the times you find that they don't have network to actually make transactions. Is this something that you think should be given even more attention, paid more attention to if Rwanda is moving more for cashless economy, shouldn't there be more attention paid closely to how these machines work?
I think you're 100% right in terms of the rollout. Having Wi-Fi or network access becomes critical. Although us, and once again, I have to say the industry is not just going on a single rollout. It's not smartphone. It's not only smartphone. Most of the banks are doing both smartphones, so application-based connectivity, but also using USSD. Otherwise, you're leaving out a significant part of the population, and you need to be able to capture that. And you also need to be able to capture areas which are blind spots from a network coverage point of view.
Emerged as the Investor of the Year. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
What was the investment?
For 2018, we spent a lot of our money was gone on infrastructure, and there specifically converting our core banking system. So we converted not only our core banking system, our electronic banking, our telephone banking, our network switch provider, all at the same time. So people talk about the analogy of the changing the aeroplane while you're flying the plane. We didn't just change the aeroplane. We changed the aeroplane, or the aeroplane's engine. We changed the wings. I think we changed pilot, and we refueled all at the same time. It happened in the last quarter of 2018, but that journey started nearly 3 years, 2.5 years beforehand. Because to be able to get to that, the bank has invested in a lot in infrastructure, in system architecture, to ensure that we have correct connectivity and that the system can run smoothly off what we've developed to run it on. The most important on that is that that's not the end. As a matter of fact, that's only the beginning. So it's a massive investment from our point of view. If you look at the size of the bank,
By massive, how much are we looking at?
we're looking at $5 million has been invested over the last 36 months. But that creates the platform for us to do a lot more automation, puts us in line to enhance our digital offering, work closer with fintechs, do more to innovate, automate, and make our banking a lot more efficient for our customers.